Hey, everybody, it's Mark Zachary, and we are having another episode of A Stroke of Good Misfortunes. And today I've got Miss Liz, and she is a phenomenal PT helper and PT. You'll have to, let us know what your official title is, but
Yes.
she is helping so much through physical therapy and the drills that she had me doing twice a week and for
hmm
I probably worked with you for almost a year or a
Yeah.
little over a year. Isn't that right, Liz?
Yeah, a
So
little over a year. Yep. Keeping an
yeah,
eye
so
on you.
and it's just been a pleasure working with Liz, and I'm looking forward to her sharing her story and kind of a recap. I had a stroke in September of 21, and so I thought, well, you know what, we're going to focus on the good of this situation, and there's been a lot of bad, but there's been more good than bad. And I've met some incredible people along my journey, and Liz is one of them. And we're getting to interview um, as many of them as we can. Some of them I just can't work out the schedule, but that's okay. I'll keep after them. So, Liz, thank you so much for being on today, and thank you for doing all that you do and all that you've done for me. And I told you I was gonna try not to cry during this deal because you guys are so special to me and my family in helping me get back to wherever the new normal is. I don't know. I don't know if I ever get back to completely normal, but I have made such progress since being under your care and under others' care that I'm very hopeful that we'll get back to at least fairly close to where I was, but we'll just see. We'll keep working at it. But thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here and absolutely don't ever stop working towards that, whatever the goals are, as close as you can get there.
Yeah,
It's the repetition, as you already know, over and over and over again. And even if you don't get all the way back to where you were, Mr. Mark, you're gonna find ways to adapt and move around it so that you can still do all the things that you need to be able to do and want to be able to do. Work,
yeah,
family, all that for sure.
yeah. It's true. You will adapt, but I remember many times that you would. It's important not to adapt so fast. I mean, you want to try to retrain your body to do what it did before. And I remember you mentioning several times, you can do it that way, but that's not the right way to do it. Let's do it the right way, and because your brain it'll figure it out. It's an
Yep.
amazing instrument, and it will figure out a new way to do things. And you weren't very friendly when it came to not letting me do things the wrong way. So
Yeah, definitely safety's a factor. So, we're
yeah,
going to make sure we're asking everything to work the most normal that it can for sure. And
yeah,
all the repetitions and all of
right,
that,
right,
it's called neuroplasticity, that amazing brain
yep,
changing and growing back and relearning all those things that it needs to do.
yeah,
And the more that you use something and purposefully use something, the more that brain kind of gains all of that motor control again.
yeah. You and Mandy did a great job of explaining that to me, that that neuroplasticity, that's a mouthful, but
Yeah.
that's just retraining your brain how to lift your leg and not just let it swing and all that kind of stuff. So thank
Yeah.
you for doing that. So I like
For
to
sure.
always start off with just, tell me your story. How long have you been doing this? What made you get
Yeah.
into it? And are you from here in Houston? And then I'm going to ask some questions as we go. So forgive
Okay.
me for jumping in, but if I don't jump in, then I'll forget the question later. So I may jump
That's
in and
okay.
interrupt. So
No
tell us your
worries.
story.
Yeah, so I am a physical therapist assistant, a PTA, and I have been a licensed PTA for almost 9 years, but I've been working in physical therapy for like 21. I
Yeah.
started off right out of high school, becoming an aide, so a tech
Wait a
to
minute. Wait, since you
assistants.
were 21, so or 21 years.
21 years.
Wow. So you started when you were about 5, because you
Yeah,
can't be more than 26.
I wish. That'd be
So
amazing.
20 years. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, yeah, like right out of high school. I started when I was 19 as a tech and aide to other therapists
Yeah.
already. And I kind of got the bug for kind of working in the field cuz my mom is a physical therapist,
Okay.
and my family owned our own physical therapy clinics up in Michigan. And so
Really?
yeah, I
I didn't
didn't
know
have this
any of that.
conversation. Oh no, I didn't know that.
Ah,
Yeah. So my mom's a physical therapist, and I grew up in the therapy clinic. I was in there often, running around and playing on all of the machines and the equipment, and not really necessarily knowing what all of that was about until I got a little older. And then I got a little bit more curious about things. And so I would ask
yeah.
questions here and there. And of course, any kid that's, in a family that owns their own business, you get enlisted in the summertime to go
Oh yeah.
do work for your family. So
Yeah.
I did a lot of, clerical kind of work when I was old enough to do that kind of stuff. And then, um, when I graduated high school and was contemplating careers, I was like, I think I'd really like to look at physical therapy. And so I got a job right away working as a tech in Michigan. I don't know if I said that. I am not
Yeah.
from Houston. I'm from Michigan.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, and then the first like year that I was working as a tech, I just fell in love with it. I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be, because
Yeah.
helping people get back to function and being able to live life, and you know, taking them from places where they feel like they're not gonna have the same quality of life anymore, or they're upset, or they're angry because they're in pain, or you know whatever the reason is that they're coming to physical therapy, to watch the transition from the beginning to the end is and being part of that is a really really special thing,
Yeah.
and really really touched my heart.
Well, you're very good at what you do, and you know, I don't really know the difference between a physical therapist and a physical therapist assistant, because you did about everything that a physical therapist did for me at Tier Memorial. There was, like I said, there's Mandy. She's going to be on here. Rachel is supposed to be here, on
Hmm.
here next week, and all three of you guys, you had the same procedure and processes, and so I don't know why there's a difference, but I guess it's an education deal. But
Yeah, it's an education deal, and then on the level of the actual when you come into the office, physical therapist assistants basically carry out the plan of care that the physical therapist has set. So like as far as the treatment, I do everything that your physical therapist can do.
yeah,
I just can't do the initial evaluation, and I can't make the assessments to create the plan of care.
yeah,
Now, again, I've been in the field for such a long time, so I have a lot of insight that can go to the plan of care because I have so much experience. And so whenever, you know, more experienced therapists or therapist assistants are working in collaboration with each other, it's always a conversation that's being had between your caregivers about, Mr. Mark came in with this today. I think that he would benefit from this exercise because I saw this going on with him, or you told me something
hmm,
that, I've either learned in school how to treat it a certain way, or in my experience over time, or in my continuing education I've learned, certain things that really work really well. And so, and same thing with your other therapists. And so conversation between your caregivers is always really, really key in having good care, making sure
Yeah.
that we're staying all on the same page and we have similar goals, even if sometimes the exercises are a little different, or
Yeah.
whatever it is, as long as the common goal is still there, what we're working towards.
Yeah. Did you
Yeah.
find it, or do you find it, a little bit challenging to be the person that's kind of watching over the day-to-day exercises that I would do, and then you had to hand off to Mandy to actually do the eval, or was there a lot of communication like you're talking about between you and Mandy at the time that evals took place?
Yeah, I'm so very blessed that Mandy and I worked together for a very long time and have very similar mindset and similar, I think, like up like bringing up into the world of therapy, where the people
Mhm.
who are mentoring us, we really had a really, really good wavelength and connection. And actually other therapists that I've worked with in the past too, everyone really on board with being communicative with each other. I've never
Mhm.
experienced a situation where, like, for lack of a better word, like the relationship between the assistant and the PT was hostile or anything like that.
Yeah.
Always people who are really good with communicating with each other.
Yeah.
And of course there's places where that maybe doesn't necessarily happen, but I've been very blessed in my career that the people that I've worked with have always been, really, really good with having open communication and making sure that, if there's something that maybe I don't know how to do, we've had a conversation about it and I learn how to do that and why we're doing it so that I can apply it,
Yeah.
going forward with that patient and with other people. Um, and vice versa. We have to do our continuing education coursework in order to maintain our licenses.
Yeah.
And so, we go to further classes and learn things that are specific to our, different scenes where we're at, whether we're in orthopedics or neurological, physical therapy, or whatever it is. And that just all helps us grow our knowledge. And when we share and collaborate with each other, it just makes it that much better for the patient.
Yeah. And you guys had such great chemistry between you and Mandy and your helpers. It
Yeah.
was always just I never felt like I wasn't getting full, I don't know, visibility to my situation and my needs and wants and things like that. You guys just always did a great job of communicating what was needing to happen that day and what we could work on down the road. So is there a different um, route for people that are just going in for an injury and then versus that from a neurological standpoint? Is there a different? I don't know if a route is the right way. Is there
You
different?
mean treatment, like treatment procedure?
Yeah.
Um, For sure. Yeah. I mean, and every case is different in general, too. And even if somebody has had, and I'm assuming you're meaning more like an orthopedic injury or a
Yes.
sports injury or something of that
Right.
nature.
Right.
Yeah, there's always, a different kind of approach to each individual person and their things that are going on and what the deficits we call are, and where we need to work. So, maybe somebody's had surgery or, injuries while they're we call musculoskeletal, right? With like a sports injury or something like that. Um, can be just that, but there's still also some neurological involvement because your nerves are what make your body move,
Yeah.
right? And so there's still consideration there. And so whenever your physical therapist is evaluating you on your very first day that you're coming in, they're making you stand up and sit down and walk down the, down the aisle there, or, they're
Yeah.
making you lift your leg and pushing back down on you. We're making assessments all the time about what the quality of movement looks like, where you're, and we have standardized tests too, like the strength tests and different things that if we do this test and we get this result, this is what this means, just depending on what it is that we're asking you to do. And then
Yeah.
that is what kind of directs where our course starts. And so whenever we're doing physical therapy, regardless of if it's for a neurological thing or if it's for a sports injury, more musculoskeletal type of thing, we're in the beginning, we're always working on improving the motor control. So
Yeah.
does this muscle contract well, and is it contracting in the right way in order to create a functional movement?
Right. Right.
And
Do
so,
you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, you're good. Go ahead.
Well, do you prefer working with one or the other?
Um, I've always worked in our outpatient orthopedics, so it's always been actually a lot more of like the sports injuries, or a lot of
Yeah.
like post-operative joint replacements or spinal injuries and stuff like that. Not necessarily a lot of real heavy neurological things, but
Hmm.
so I'm very, very comfortable in that world because it's been the main place where I've always worked. But
Yeah.
I like to be challenged too. And so neurological, like stroke, stroke has been the biggest like specific neurological diagnosis that I've ever truly worked with people. I've never clinically worked with people with like spinal cord injuries or like other like traumatic like impact brain injuries or
Yeah.
anything of that nature. And so um definitely a lot more physical on your therapist, hard jobs to do with that. But I wouldn't be opposed to it. I just haven't been exposed to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Julia was asking me, and the girls were they asking me about the patients that I see in there, and when you're in the hospital at Tier, I obviously saw a lot of people, more people with major brain injuries in the hospital. And then I told Julie and the girls, I said I don't see as many people in there that are stroke victims, but I have started seeing more and more in there. So I don't know if I was a guinea pig. Hey, let's take this guy on, and maybe they said, hey, I think we may be able to deal with more and more of these. But
Oh, you mean over where we were?
yes, yes,
Yeah. Yeah. So because the group is an outpatient orthopedic group, that's who owns that particular
yeah,
facility. The majority of the people who come in there absolutely are,
yeah,
people who have had a sports injury or are having joint replacement kind of stuff going on, or pain management for spinal things,
yeah.
mechanical or disc issues or whatever's
So
going
I
on
was a
there.
miracle just
But
getting to go in and be with you guys then.
yeah, not definitely not as common of a diagnosis or patient type population to come into the outpatient orthopedics, but it absolutely happens when you get to a point where the level of care at Tier is kind of moving you toward discharge, and they've got you
Yeah,
to a point, and then you just got to keep doing it. If you don't, it's such a cliche phrase, but it's 100% the truth, especially post stroke. If you don't use it, you lose it.
you lose it. Yep, yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I found a lady online that is a PT specialist, and she does gets a little bit of everything, and so it's called Rehab HQ, and
Okay.
that's her YouTube channel. And yeah, she says that over and over. Don't let your right hand sit there, and or your left your right leg, sit there and find new ways to do things. It gets back to what we said at the very beginning.
Yeah.
you gotta retrain your brain to do these things the way that it used to. And it's not that you're well, you're weaker, no doubt about it. But she said that the main thing, and you said this, the main thing is your brain, the connection between your brain and that muscle has been messed up. And so you're just having to retrain it and um, remake, I guess,
Yeah, it's a
routes from
pathway.
the brain to that muscle that's having the issues.
Yeah, yep, it's a pathway. I always the way that I was taught in school is, when you use a specific muscle, or, group of muscles over and over and over and over again, your brain creates a stronger connection. And I say it's a stronger beaten path. So we talk about that pathway. So
Yeah,
every single time you make a contraction, your brain sends a message to your muscle: move, move, move. And that
yeah,
actually grows more nerve endings into that particular muscle that you're asking to do things. And it
yeah,
increases the space on your brain where that gets used. So if you keep using it all the time, it's going to stay in your brain's pathway. That becomes like that motor highway instead of some old dirt road that's all overgrown with
yeah.
grass and nobody knows about.
Right, right. That's a
So
great way to put it.
yeah. And then conversely, if you're not using it, it gets overgrown and your brain forgets about it, and nobody's visiting that old town that's off the highway, not off the highway anymore. And we don't even know about that town anymore.
Right.
So we don't want that to happen though, right?
Yeah, it was funny. About 2 months after my stroke, 2 or 3 months, I finally got to see my neurologist, and
Mhm.
I reached out, or he reached out to shake my hand. And I reached out with my left hand, and he goes, "No,
Mm-mm.
I want the right hand." He said, "I don't care if it takes 30 minutes to reach out and straighten that hand out, but I want your right hand." So I was like, and I'm having to straighten my fingers out. Still in really bad shape at that
Yeah.
time, and so, but I still catch myself probably more often than not going with something, going to shake somebody's hand with my left, and my wife is constantly, "Mark, that's not what Dr. Blum said." He said, "Get that right hand out." So, but you have an embarrassment factor that you can't, open it up. But
Right.
yeah, it's got to be done, or that road that you're talking about just gets overgrown and it may never be driven down again.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
Well, so yeah, so it's all, what has really blown me away, and I don't know, since you haven't worked with a lot of stroke patients and down at Tier, just the technology that is available for for stroke patients and stuff. I mean, the apparatuses that they had me tied into and
oh yeah, get you
wrapped into.
standing.
I don't know if you have seen some of that. I'm sure you have, because
I have.
you're in the field. It's like,
Yeah.
my gosh, how did anybody think of something like this? So, I mean, you didn't.
Amazing torturers.
It is. I mean, it is amazing, the stuff. And I was visiting with Jill on Tuesday, and I was like, man, just the stuff that this field thinks of to make your life easier is stuff that you don't even think about, like the little aphasia card that they gave me before I left the hospital. And they said,
Yeah.
"This is what you carry with you, in the car in case you get pulled over. If you start driving again," and because I wasn't driving at that time, but they said, here's a card. You show the police officer that you're not drunk. This is just the way you talk for now. And
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's really smart.
All the
And
things. Yeah. And
yeah,
that's not only those kinds of things weren't only come up of, with therapists coming up with them. That's patients,
that's what she said.
saying, Yeah, that's patience, because this is what you're experiencing as a patient. You've run into these problems, and
Yeah.
people are amazing and smart, and they come up with ways to you know help adapt their lives so that they're more easy to navigate when stuff changes. We're human beings are amazing in that way.
Well,
We find a
yeah,
way
I
to go
mean,
on.
to get exposed to the creativity of people to come up with this stuff. It's like how did you even come up with all of this stuff? And but thank God somebody does, so they can develop these machines, and you can get us on there, and make us work. And man, they used to put me on a machine that would only allow me to carry a certain percent of my body weight, and
Yeah.
the machine carried the rest of it. And then I would step with my left foot, and they would help me move my right, and just amazing stuff. And on OT type stuff, just a bike that you guys always had to be start out on, we would do with the arms. And
Hmm.
I remember the first time I moved that handle the first time, and it was like, oh my God, there's hope here. It's moving a little bit, which means it can move a lot. I just have to keep working at it. So
Absolutely.
what?
We had to strap your hand on there.
I know
Remember?
it. That's right, because
But
it
but
would
we
it
did
would
it.
fall off every time.
Hmm. Yep, yep.
So
But
gosh,
yep.
I've forgotten about that. So
But
what's
now
the
you can
most
hold it.
huh?
Now you can hold it. I've seen
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the most rewarding part of your job? What do you
Oh
love the
man.
most?
Oh, there's so much. I love being and like I kind of said in the beginning, whenever you kind of asked me how I got into being a physical therapist assistant, I really love being part of the beginning to end um progression of getting people back to their life, and them being
Yeah.
happy with their lives. When I was 19, I always use this anecdote to the helpers and aides that are coming through now, other patients and things. The very first place that I worked at, we had a gentleman who had had a total knee replacement, and he was just like the grouchiest guy I had ever met. He was so
Uh-oh.
mean, and
Uh-oh.
he scared me. And I like whenever I first was there, and I was like, oh my gosh, this I've never met somebody who was so just ornery and not in a good mood all the time.
Well, that was
And
only when he got to you. By the time he left you, he was probably very nice because you're so sweet.
oh, well, that was what made me know that this is where I'm supposed to be, because I could have that kind of effect on people. You know, it's watching us even just me as an aide, where I was just doing what the therapists were asking me to do. I wasn't even coming up with the plans or, doing anything, but just having conversations with people and, you know, encouraging them and telling them, hey, other people have already gone through this, and this is what our job is, to make you, better, so that you can get back to life. And watching that man walk out on his last day hugging me and
Uh,
smiling and not grouchy at all, that change from that extreme to the other is
yeah,
amazing to be a part of.
yeah,
And after now 21 years of it, it's just that's my favorite part, is
yeah,
meeting people. And not everybody comes in that level of upset, but everybody has some level of I'm not well, and taking people from that mindset to I am well, I can do it, I'm gonna get better, or I am better, and I'm doing all of these things now that I wasn't doing before, and maybe wasn't even doing before that, like maybe
yeah,
they're even better than they were before they had their injury, or before they had, some long term pain that they've been dealing with, like people with knee pain and they've had a total joint replacement, or whatever it may be, or people who are dealing with back pain for years and years, and they just were so bad as people to going to the doctor, and we're just like, oh, it'll go away. I'll just I'll ignore it until it goes away, until it doesn't go away, and then now it's
Yeah.
been a long time. And so that part is my favorite. And also just getting to continuously meet really new and amazing people all the time, like you, Mr. Mark.
Yeah. I'll send you a Venmo, some cash for saying that. That's right now.
Oh, no, no.
So what's some of the what are the things that you don't like about this business and this industry?
Well, more so that is probably, well, there's a couple of things, but just that it sometimes can be a really heavy, like, business where there's a lot of people coming through. And not that I don't want to see a lot of people, but sometimes there's not enough of us in a given day to see people effectively. And
Yeah.
because of course it is still a business,
Right.
depending on where you're at, some places can be a little bit uh overcrowded, and we don't get to have as much time with a person as we would like to, in order to maintain good, contact and care with someone. But
Hmm.
you know you just got to kind of bust your butt
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
get on top of it a little bit more. And I mean, I think that's kind of the bigger end of it, because it's the, like, all of the, like, insurance kind of stuff, and like you got to follow this rule and you got to do this before you're allowed to do that with a patient. And
Yeah.
there's kind of a lot of rigmarole that can become irritating with getting approved for physical therapy. Like,
Yeah.
certain people, not everybody's blessed with really good insurance, and so, or they have to have authorization in order to come to physical therapy, or sometimes they only have, with their insurance, allowance for like 10 visits for a year, which is crazy.
Yeah.
If you have like a severe situation, a surgery, a stroke, whatever the situation may be, that's you're going to need way more than just 10 visits in a year.
Yeah.
And so,
I was
like,
surprised when we're still getting approved for
yeah.
different meetings and sessions and all that, and I'm just shocked that insurance has continued to you know approve all of these visits. And just for full disclosure, we would have to do maybe, what, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 sessions, and then you'd have to redo the eval to get
Hmm.
more approvals, right?
Yeah, for insurance to be able to continue to approve, or for us to get insurance to approve more visits, we have to always be demonstrating that you require skilled care beyond just exercising and getting stronger. Because everybody can go to the gym and exercise,
Yeah.
but is it meaningful exercise where you need a skilled clinician, like a physical therapist assistant, like a physical therapist, an occupational therapist, whomever, speech therapist, whomever you're
Yeah.
working with? We're always in our documentation making sure that we're making statements about you're making progress, but you're not making enough progress for us to let you go off on your own.
Right.
And that's a slippery slope. We have to always be, thinking about ethics, you know, both for your patient and also for the insurance company, making sure that we're not taking advantage of things, but also making sure that patients are getting back to real function, and that they're well.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's a fine line to walk.
Well, if you had to change one thing in your industry, what do you think that would be?
That would be it. The insurance stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, obviously still money isn't an endless thing. And so, insurance companies are a business too.
Yeah. That's right.
So you have we have to think about things on that kind of level too. But you'd like to be able to be with patients for always, or for there to be a little bit more, I guess, in my opinion, like equality about where insurances are. One, like I said, one insurance might only have 10 visits allowable per year, and that's it. There is no approvals for
Right.
getting more. There is no, appealing to them to ask for more visits or whatever. That is all you get. And if you want
Yeah.
to do more, whatever it is, physical therapy for, you got to pay for it out of your pocket. And then other people's insurance is they'll have 100 visits a year, or it's unlimited. And so
Yeah.
it seems pretty crazy and kind of unfair, but again, it's
Yeah.
just whatever you're able to pay for all of the time. But people pay
Yeah.
premiums to their insurance for years and years and years and never even use it. Like, I'm a healthy person. I use my insurance to go to doctor visits, and once in a while I get sick, like every about 4 years maybe.
Yeah. Well, good for
But I
you.
sure pay my premiums every month though.
Well, the insurance has been a challenge for us. Just
Yeah.
number one, really just understanding how it works and
Yeah.
what percent they pay of this and that. And so it can be a pretty crazy stuff. Well, I tell you what, we're at 36 minutes, and I want to hear about some personal stuff. What are some things? Because I know, but I want all my listeners to know. What are some things that you love to do as a hobby when you because you have
Oh.
a very stressful uh, job, and so you often told me about all these fun things that you did. What's the your favorite hobby?
Oh, my favorite hobby I is when I know we go on lots of trips.
Yeah,
So, getting out of the state and getting into mountains is my favorite place to be. Or even though sometimes those are super challenging and I'm like cursing everything when I'm climbing up them.
yeah.
Hiking up
She
in
she gets
Colorado
a
is
she gets a 2 day weekend or a long weekend, and she runs to Utah to do some or Colorado or
Colorado.
do some hiking. I'm like, you were here Friday, and now you're already back from Denver or wherever you went, and it was
Yeah,
just
yeah, we've done a
hilarious.
couple of really hard grueling drives to go get some mountains in our life. Yeah. Like a
Yeah.
4-day weekend, we might drive to, like the foothills of the Rockies just to get
Oh
some
my gosh.
some hiking in, cuz it feels so good to be outside and do physical stuff. And once you get to the top of the peaks, it's always worth the hard
Yeah.
climb.
Right.
Always.
Right. Well, that's a good saying. I need to write that down and put it on my. You can see all the stuff back there. I like to
Yeah.
look at every day if I can. And but yeah, that's a great saying. So, well, I tell you what, it has been a pleasure having you on here, but more important, just getting to know you and getting to work with you. And you have been so instrumental in me being able to walk down the hall now and get out of bed easier and get up and you and Mandy had me able to I was able to stand on a balancing bar, that they'll whatever a table thing is,
The board,
and
yeah.
yeah, board and throw that ball against the little trampoline thing, and that kind of got to me when I was doing it because I remember the first time I came in, there was another guy standing there doing that, and I just there's no way I could do that at that time, and I looked and thought, man, and I think I said it to Mandy, I don't guess I'll ever be able to do that, and I think part of the part of the wrapping up because she ended up moving back to Dallas, and
Hmm.
and part of the kind of going away um, celebration was she said, Mark, come over here. I want you to stand on this. Now I'm going to cry. She goes, I want you to stand on this board. And and I'm like, okay, I can stand on the board. And then she handed me the ball and had me throw it. So
Yeah.
she said,
You
I told
planted
you,
you planted that seed in her brain, and she's a stubborn gal, so you're
well,
lucky.
I tell you what, I could not have done it without both of you guys. And, I've got my grandson now, he's 7 months old,
He's
and
beautiful.
he makes me, motivated to keep doing what you guys had me do day in and day out. And I'm still doing the same drills that you taught me. And so thank you
Good.
very much for,
Good.
I'm gonna coach my grandson's baseball team. I am determined to do that.
I love it. I love it.
So,
I love
well,
it.
look, thank you so much again
Thank
for
you.
joining us today, and we'll get the episode out in the next few days. But I just, me and my family can't thank you enough.
It's been a pleasure. You are an absolute amazing person. I actually talk about you still all the time to patients, to coworkers at my new place of work, about your amazing attitude, always wanting to push forward, and even in low times you still are just such an amazing person, and you have all the drive and strive, and it's an inspiration too. So
Well, thank you
you
very much.
for being
I
part
need to
of.
come out and see you at your new place.
Oh, I would love that. That would be great.
All right. All right, everybody. I'll let you go. If there's ever anything I can do, I know I've been asked to go speak at different events for stroke victims and visit with people that may have had a stroke or certain situations like that. If you ever need to talk, I will be glad to do that. But I'm doing this, podcast to maybe encourage somebody that either has gone through it or their family member has gone through it, or maybe they can watch this and think, man, that there is hope if I keep doing the things that people like Liz tell me to do, and all the other people that you will see or have seen on this podcast. So don't forget to download it, share it. It's called A Stroke of Good Misfortunes, and there's been a lot of good in this crazy road that I've been on. And but man, I tell you what, I've said it before. If I had to be on this road, I wouldn't want anybody else but people like Liz on my team. So, Liz, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye bye.